Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. We're gonna call Rog and we're gonna get into the news.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. You woke me up.
That's my job.
Yeah, man. So, give me a minute. I think I'm there.
That sounds like you are.
All right, let me move my camera. What I look like?
I don't know either. Surprise.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning, holiday.
Oh, right.
We're all happy. Doesn't seem like Monday. There you are. All right. These today's headlines are.
Are they? Is there a lot going on?
Well, a lot happened yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I slept all yesterday. As soon as we got off the last show, I slept and.
All right. Whenever ready, whenever I am.
All right, I'm ready. So today on Before Coffee, Indian minister rebukes Der Spiegel for racist cartoon mocking population size.
Fox News fires Tucker Carlson.
I feel I was raped. 6 women in Barcelona seek justice after relationship with spy cop.
Aaron Rodgers. It's finally with the New York Jets and the Jordan Love era began.
EU firms accused of abhorrent export of banned pesticides to Brazil.
We wish happy birthday to Willie Nelson and other things happening today on April 25th, 2023 edition of Called Again or Coffee.
All right, for my first story, we are going to go to the glorious region of India, where a German magazine accused of putting down India with a caricature depicting the population overtaking China. The cartoon shows a rickety old Indian train packed with people and swarms of passengers to top it. On the parallel track, a sleek Chinese bullet train, seen with just 2 drivers looking surprised at the size of the Indian train. Ah, yes, let's create some tension between China and India, because that's a great idea. According to the United Nations projections published on Monday, India has a population of 1.4 billion, surpassing China for the first time. Kanchan Gupta, senior advisor to the Minister of Information Broadcasting, tweeted, "Hi, Germany. This is outrageously racist. Der Spiegel I can't use it. I literally can't say that word. Caricaturing India.
Okay.
Is the matter has no resemblance
Found
to
it out.
reality.
Is it an English word?
Yeah, it's a I can't say it. I'm having a speech moment. I literally can't.
Characterization?
No, it's literally when you make a caricature, but the action of doing it. I can't say the word caricaturing. That's it. Speech problem. It's my brain.
Oh,
it's okay. My brain just refuses to finish the word in my mouth. India, in this manner, has no resemblance to reality. Purpose is to show India down and suck up to China. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the Minister of Electronics and Information Technology, also reacted angrily, tweeting, "Dear cartoonist," at Der Spiegel. Notwithstanding your attempt at mocking India, it's not smart to bet against India under PM Narendra Modi. In a few years, India's economy will be bigger than Germany's. Some Indians pointed out that it was true that during busy festivals when millions of Indians rush to go home, some trains do look like the one in the cartoon. Western criticism has always rankled Indian governments, but under Narendra Modi, the resentment is much sharper. Any negative coverage, such as the BBC documentary India, The Modi Question, which we talked about before on the show, which they banned it from India, which examined the Prime Minister's role in the 2022 or 2002 anti-Muslim riots, is routinely dismissed as a malicious conspiracy to defame Modi and by association, India. Ah, yes. It's always good that when somebody attacks your leader, they're also attacking your entire culture. That's never good. Ever. To cross that line. In 2021, Modi himself made the same claim during an election rally in Assam, claiming that Indian tea and yoga were being maligned by foreigners. Hey, they're taking our tea and our yoga! But these days, there are conspiracies against the nation. They're trying to malign the image of Indian tea worldwide. Some documents have revealed that such conspiracy is being hatched by forces sitting in a foreign land. I did not know there was an anti. Just last week, Jayant Panda, a MP and spokesperson for the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, wrote a column in the Hindustan Times accusing the Western media of outright prejudice against India. They probably are right. Panda accused the media of ignoring India's progress and, without naming it, singled out the New York Times for what he called its bias and routine India bashing. He added, what is peculiar is the abandonment of objectivity in a single-minded pursuit of predetermined narrative. In 2014, the New York Times published a cartoon mocking India's putting a robotic probe into orbit around Mars. It showed an Indian farmer with a cow knocking at a door of a room marked Elite Space Club. After protests, the newspaper published an apology. Yeah, I mean, famously, the world is anti-South, and India is, they're full of brown people, let's be honest, and brown people aren't allowed to do anything good because they're just copying the not brown people, and they didn't come up with any of the ideas themselves. Anyways, to your next story. You're still muted. You're coughing, so yourself.
Alright, I'm back.
Yep. There you go.
Right, so the story I just closed. I'm going to read it. It'll come back. Say that. Okay, so in news, yes. For it to come up. Okay, Fox News parts ways with Tucker Carlson after Dominion settlement, and in a related story that's not related, actually the same exact thing happening in another network, CNN fires Don Lemon, basically their only liberal, at the same time. So I wonder if there's going to be like Don Lemon going to Fox and all. Tucker Carlson going to CNN? No. So I don't think that's it. Tucker Carlson's more likely to go RT, Russian talk.
Well, maybe he's just going to become one of those weird casters.
RT ain't a job offer. Yeah, we'll hire him. Yeah. Tell us how white people are getting screwed again, Tucker. Fox, it became less than a week after the network agreed to pay $787 million in a defamation lawsuit in which Mr. Carlson's show, one of the highest rated on Fox, figured prominently. He was said to be surprised by the move. Fox News on Monday dismissed Tucker Carlson as most popular primetime host and one of the most influential voices on American right. The network made the announcement less than a week after it paid its record defamation lawsuit for its role in trying to spread misinformation in the 2020 election. Jeremy W. Press, who writing the same over again. Major point. The decision to let Carlson go was made on Friday night by Lachlan Murdoch and Susan Scott, chief executive for Fox News Media, according to the person move. Brian Kilmeade, host of the first installment of Fox News Tonight, and Tucker Carlson's former 8 p.m. slot, brief comments about Carlson. He tells viewers, "I wish Tucker the best. I'm great friends with Tucker and always will be." But in his mind, he's going, "All right, I can get my own weird following." The abrupt cancellation of Tucker Carlson tonight will come at the cost of Fox News.
I mean, they already had a cost, so they're paying a fine.
Mr. Carlson's prime, they're paying a settlement.
Yeah.
Directly to the fine is paid to the government. Mr. Carlson paid primetime show, brought his $77 million in advertising every last year, dwarfing his Fox News primetime colleagues, as well as his main competitors, CNN and MSNBC. Last year, Anderson Cooper's 8 p.m. program, CNN, had that revenue. Meanwhile, Sean Hannity's 9 p.m. show had an ad revenue of $3 million. Tucker Carlson has not yet released a statement or spoken publicly on his firing of Fox more than 7 hours after it happened. Okay. As your story, CBS News. Don Lemon says CNN fired him, is stunned by his termination. Longtime CNN anchor Don Lemon has been fired from cable network. Tweeted on Monday, "I was informed this morning by my agent that I have been terminated by CNN. I am stunned. After 7 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have had the decency to tell me directly." Network confirmed in a statement that they parted ways with Lemon. Fox also said they came to an agreement. That's what they say when they.
Everyone knows that's bullshit.
Was totally shocked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don will forever part of the CNN family, and we thank him for his contribution in the past 17. Wish him well and be cheering him on in the future endeavor. In a follow-up statement, the network disputed Lemon's account of the event, saying it was offered an opportunity to meet with management, but instead released a statement on Twitter. Lemon's firing came the same day as we already said that.
We've already fired you, but we did offer you to talk to us about how we fired you. You denied it because we fired you before we talked to you. That's what happened.
Lemon came under fire earlier this year after he made comments about a woman being in their prime during a segment about a 50-year-old Republican president, Haley. In response to Haley calling for a mandatory mental competency test politicians over the age of 75, Lemon said, "Nikki Haley isn't in her prime, sorry." That's kind of mean. Okay. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s, maybe 40s, he said.
I would say
prime
40s.
for what? Prime for what is Bobby Harlow is? Are you talking about prime for like childbearing or prime for being president? Lemon said Google search would show, hey, at least they had an open discussion. He would not get that. Tucker Carlson would be like, you know what, Tucker Carlson actually...
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson was actually fired for, and this is the truth, was for sexual harassment, for harassment in the workplace, hostile workplace type stuff, because the text messages that came out after that show during the lawsuit showed that he was calling Sidney Powell. Remember that crazy lady, Sidney Powell lawyer? The election was rigged. Well, anyway, Tucker Carlson kept calling her a "see you in Tennessee," right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if you want to call somebody that, you just say "see you in Tennessee." Hey, anyway. And so that's why he got fired, really. He kept using that word.
Against some, the lady, off air against some workplace.
Right, and there's an executive who is suing, well, actually his assistant, one of the assistants is suing Fox now.
And he's not Australian or from New Zealand, so he's not allowed to do that.
He's not Australian!
You can only use that word familiar in a familiar way if you're Australian or from New Zealand. The common thing.
He's not even Australian, he calls prawns shrimp. It's another prawn in the barbie, you barbarian. Your story.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I could say I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
I'm sorry that Don Lemon went because he's kind of funny.
I think I get where he's coming from, but I think he got his wires mixed because just because you can't give birth anymore does not make you useless to society.
I will tell you, as soon as they took Don Lemon's show and they moved him to the mornings, he said, fuck this place. That's why he said that. He'll say anything to get fired, and that was proof of it.
Okay.
I don't think Tucker Carlson wanted to get fired. I think Don Lemon wanted.
Right.
You're sorry.
My next story is about Spain. How there was a spy cop dating people in Spain, and they didn't know that he was spying on them, and they feel like they've raped. Not actually raped, but it feels like they've raped. Legal challenge also takes aim at Spain's home ministry after police officer allegedly posed as an anarchist. First time he showed up at Barcelona's poster plastered La Cinetica, a former cinema turned squatted anti-capitalist social center, was in mid-2020. Friendly, funny, and flirtatious, he introduced himself as Danny, a recent transplant to the city who was scraping by installing air conditioning. Oh no, the HVAC people are gonna be pissed when they find out this. And said he had stumbled across a center after searching online for a cheap place to work out. Over the next 2.5 years, he became a fixture of the city's vibrant anarchist scene, facing down police at protests and anti-eviction blockades, dropping by a popular plaza for hours of beer-fueled conversation, striking up an intimate relationship with at least 8 women. That is, until the man with the mohawk, collection of anti-fascist t-shirts, and a chaos symbol tattoo on one of his knee, was undercover cop the whole time. 6 of the women he was involved with during this time are now pursuing legal action, accusing the alleged officer and his superiors of Spain's national police force of continued sexual abuse and inhumane treatment, along with breaches of their privacy and fundamental rights. Legal challenge also takes aim at Spain's home ministry, arguing that it is ultimately responsible for the conduct of the country's police forces. Yeah, like, if you're gonna be an undercover cop, maybe don't date and, like, steal their secrets. Like, I'm a spy, I'm gonna tell everyone your most intimate details. Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were a spy. I feel I was raped. When the women told La Directa, the Barcelona-based newspaper that first published the allegations, I've been with someone who I now realize I didn't know, and that makes me genuinely afraid. He first crossed paths with Danny in late 2020, when a group gathered at La Cinetica to work on a guide aimed to preventing and confronting patriarchal violence. The two hit it off quickly, going on a date for nearly a year. Going on a date for a year? That's a long and I know it means they were dating for nearly a year, but the idea of, like, and we sat in that restaurant for an entire year. We were on that date for a year. The allegations revealed more than a year after he abruptly broke off the relationship, left her fending off a mix of anxiety, disgust, and powerlessness. If I had known he was a cop, I would have never had a relationship with him. I wasn't able to make that decision because he lied to me. In recent weeks, she had grappled with a barrage of flashbacks, reliving the many times she had introduced him to her closest friends and family, eased his entry into the city's tight-knit activist community. Nothing justifies the state and the police interfering in my life. Spain's National Police and Interior Ministry have yet to publicly address the allegations. Neither would speak to The Guardian. The police did not reply to a request for comment, while the ministry said it would not comment, nor would confirm the existence of this alleged case. Police sources, however, have confirmed to a handful of Spanish media that Danny is a police officer, linking him to a division focused on intelligence gathering. At the heart of the woman's legal challenge is the question of whether these women were able to provide free and informed consent, said Sonia Olivia, a lawyer with Barcelona-based rights group Iridia, a part of the legal team representing the women. It's clear the consent was flawed. It's not just a person lied about one facet of their identity, but rather the whole identity is false. And it was given the context of an asymmetrical relationship between activists and a state official who was carrying out orders. Legal complaint also calls for clarity on who and on what suspicions the undercover operation was approved, because we know there is no legal framework that would allow this breach of fundamental rights. While Spanish laws include a judicial process that can allow police great groups suspected of organized crime or terrorism. This operation seemingly targeted anarchist and libertarian movements as well as worker rights groups. And nowhere in there does it say, please date at least 10 people in the group in order to gather information. I think that's a problem here. Specifically, that he dated people. Like, just don't do that. Just be like, oh, I have a wife or something. Like, don't sleep with a bunch of people in the thing and then be like, ha, joke's on you, I tricked you. Ah, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Scumbag.
Yeah. In crafting the legal challenge, the team in Barcelona looked to the UK for a modern-day precedent that it described as sexualized institutional violence. The Spy Cop scandal, in which it was revealed that at least 20 undercover officers had deceived women in intimate relationships at times that spanned years. 4 officers are known or alleged to have fathered children with women they met during covert deployments. As with women in Barcelona, wait to hear whether the court will agree to hear the case. Their search for justice has been closely watched by police spies out of lives, a group representing women in the UK who were deceived by cops. Note that the Spanish state has crossed the line in terms of violation of fundamental rights, exploiting intimate and sexual relationships to monitor a political consent. The group noted in a statement of support signed by 87 other organizations from around the world, as in the UK, this case should generate public debate on limits and control of policing in a state governed by the rule of law and democracy. Yeah, it's really easy. Add a rule that you don't date people if you're gonna go undercover, and then just end it there. Like, not that you could trust any cops to actually listen to that. Anyways,
okay,
your story.
All right, I guess we're going to go to sports.
Okay, sports time.
ESPN. Horribly written. Higher station. So maybe they'll have good stats anyway. All right, this is Aaron Rodgers. Traded to the New York Jets. For a second time in 15 years, the Green Bay Packers are trading an aging icon to the New York Jets. The Packers agreed Monday to deal quarterback Aaron Rodgers and their first-round pick, number 15, and a 2023 fifth-round pick, number 170, to the New York Jets. For the New York Jets, first-round pick, number 13, a 23 second-round pick, number 42, a 2003 sixth-round pick, 2023, sorry. They get traded for 2003. That guy's probably in his 50s. Second-round pick, 207. And a conditional 2024 second-round pick that becomes the first if Rodgers plays in 65% of the snaps this season. Although the Hall of Fame quarterback and Jets franchise icon Joe Namath gave Rodgers his blessing to wear number 12. The Jets quarterback's expected to wear number 8, the number he wore in college at Cal. Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst was hesitant to comment on the deal in much detail Monday, but during his previously scheduled annual pre-draft news conference, which began shortly after the news of the trades broke, he said there would still be a few details worked out. Among them, likely is the fact that Rodgers must still take his physical. Gutekunst said it was important for him to get this deal done before the draft. If you flunk him for a physical, Jets, you're kind of shitty. I just gotta say, he better pass his physical. But you don't want a quarterback. All right. Anyway, after the trade, the Jets odds at Caesar Sportsbook. After the trade, the Jets odds at Caesar Sportsbook to win the Super Bowl are 14-1. Now the Packers are 50-1. I'm running to the casino to not bet on the Jets. I'll bet on the Packers though, 50-1. Holy crap! It's like, oh no, they don't have a quarterback anymore. They have nobody there. No, they have a player they've been grooming for 3 years. Other teams that have no quarterback whatsoever, like the 49ers, amazingly have great odds.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. They don't have a better roster. I don't see it. For the Jets, frustrated by years of losing an inferior quarterback play, it's arguably the biggest trade in their history, reminiscent of the Brett Favre trade, which they only gave a second rounder for him. But the Packers just wanted him out of town because he was disrupting camp at the time. He was actually physically at camp being an asshole. I'm still the quarterback. I don't know if you remember that. That was fun. Yeah, divided to all agree. And this situation, not only is Aaron Rodgers being a decent guy, even though the media wants to pretend that he isn't. He's actually renegotiating his contract to make it easier for the Packers to trade him. He actually says, I support Jordan Love. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. Now, there's members of the media that just want to just tear him down. And I guess it goes back to the COVID thing, which other quarterbacks didn't get the shot. You know, other quarterbacks fucking missed games for extra games, like Kirk Cousins. But for some reason, they went after Aaron Rodgers and not Kirk Cousins. Probably because he got a big mouth. But still, it isn't like he went around and said, "Hey, I'm going to all these parties and shit." No, he went home. The game was over. He went home. You know, he's spreading. Well, he did go to a Halloween party, and that's what he got suspended for.
Yeah.
That was a Halloween party. Again, Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet. I hope he plays 65% of the games, of the snaps, and that the Jets don't win any of them. You get the first pick in the draft, and the Packers get that pick, and they pick like the player that's an all-star for 15 years. Your story.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm biased.
That's okay. That's sports. It's really I don't know how you're not biased with sports.
My team
designed on it.
My team will not pack up and move in the dead of night. That's all I can say.
All right. In
Shout
EU
out to
news,
Baltimore.
In EU news, we're discovering that a lot of people were exporting banned pesticides to Brazil. So they don't want to destroy Europe, but they're okay with destroying Brazil's environment. Pesticides banned in the EU because of their links to human health risks, well, not even the environment, also people. They also want to destroy Brazilians. Are being exported and used on farms in Brazil, supplying Nestle. An investigation has revealed. Ah, yes, Nestle, the upstanding company everyone loves. They've never done anything wrong. Europe is home to some of the world's biggest and most profitable chemical companies, including the Swiss-based Syngenta and the German multinationals BASF and Bayer. But a number of these pesticides and fungicides they produce have been banned by European health officials after they were linked to cancer, reproductive problems, and neurodegenerative diseases. Despite the ban, millions of pounds worth of products are still being exported to Brazil, where they're used on farms that supply the international sugar market, according to new investigations by Lighthouse Reports and Reporter Brazil. Documents from Brazilian Agriculture Minister obtained through a Freedom of Information request reveals that a fungicide made by BASF and based on epoxyconazole, a chemical banned in the EU, was sprayed over 2 sugar plantations that supply Nestle. One of the farms used this banned fungicide and part of a giant Brazilian sugar corporation, Cupuaçu, which sold 1 billion euros worth of sugar to Europe in 2020. In Sao Paulo state, Senatina, a Brazilian sugar plantation, is under investigation after a complaint from a neighboring president about the health impacts from spraying of chemicals on the farm. CropLife International, which represents agri-chemical companies including BASF, Bayer, and Syngenta, said the active ingredients in the pesticides have valid use and registration in several OECD countries. It said in a statement, a non-registration of G or deregistration in the European Union does not automatically mean a product cannot be used in a country. Pesticides are not automatically more hazardous or less necessary because they are not authorized in Europe. But it is kind of weird, isn't it, that they aren't allowed to use it in Europe. They make it in Europe and then they export. Like, yep. I feel like maybe there should just not be rules against exporting it. Bayer and BASF maintain that all the products are safe for humans, even though it's banned in Europe for not being safe for humans.
Yeah, lungs are different in South America.
Cupuaçu said they complied with Brazilian and international legislation, exporting its products within safety standards in the regions where it operates. Spokesperson for Nestle said all its suppliers must be responsible sourcing standard, including its relation to good agricultural practices. We continue to closely follow the regulatory developments everywhere we operate to ensure full compliance for all our products. Nestle is not involved in campaigning against an export ban on pesticides and active ingredients in the EU. Officials at DJ Sante, the EU body responsible for regulating pesticides, said the export of banned pesticide would be phased out in line with the chemical strategy for sustainability, although no timetable has been set for implementation. And this article is amended, stating although fipronil and trifluorian have been banned in the EU, they have not been identified as potential carcinogens. So there are two chemicals that have been banned, but they're not because they cause cancer. Probably because of the reasons, but they don't say what those reasons are. Anyways, your next story.
They were banned for not being profitable enough.
Yeah.
Damn it, that shit. Yeah, well, it kills people, but it's making us profit. So let's keep it out there. What's this other thing doing? It's harmless. Does it make us money? Nope. Cancel it. All right. In less serious news, but Willie Nelson hits the road again. Willie Nelson's on the road again at 90. April 29th, which we will not get to on our Today in History, is actually Saturday, is Willie Nelson's 90th birthday. Willie Nelson turns 90 on April 29th. Don't expect to find him partying with friends and family in his ranch in Spicewood, Texas. Where will he be? To coin a phrase, on the road again. That was one of his famous songs, On the Road Again. On the road again. The outlaw country legend will have plenty of help blowing out those candles when he celebrates. During his tour stop at the Hollywood Bowl, for a long story short, Willie Nelson at 90. This is an article from the AARP Journal, the American Association for Retired Persons. So, after their names, they put the age, if they're over 50. Because if you're over 50, you're eligible. Okay? So it's over this article. Willie Nelson, 90, a pair of all-star concerts, April 29th and 30th. He will join on a slew of disciples, including Maria Lambert, Sheryl Crow, 61, Chris Stapleton, Casey Musgraves, Margot Price, Beck, 52, Norah Jones, Snoop Dogg, 51, the Avett Brothers, the Chicks, Tom Jones, 82. Well, Tom Jones still going strong. Ziggy Marley, 54, and many more. Some of them are leading pot smoker there. Look at that. Snoop Dogg,
Yep,
Ziggy Marley. Yeah, some of your leading pot smokers. Some of them, as well as Kathleen Edwards, Nathaniel Ratliff, Robert Plant, 74, and Alison Krauss, 51, will be on the marquees of Nelson's Outlaw Music Festival starting in June. So I'm not sure that has anything to do with this, except promoting their concerts. Nelson, also an activist, author, and actor, released his first single in 1957, is more prolific now than ever, with 28 studio albums since 2000. The newest, I Don't Know a Thing About Love, pays tribute to friend and songwriter Harland Howard, who died in 2002. By some counts, it's Nelson's 150th album. He admits he can't name them all. As he revs up for his 90th birthday victory lap in the Hollywood Bowl, AARP caught up with the American legend. So here's your question and answer session. Why are you taking your 90th birthday off instead of having a concert? Working is really good for me, no matter what kind of show it is. The fact that it will be there for 2 days with a lot of my good friends coming out and saying hello and singing with me makes it a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. How do you feel about turning 90? Norman Lear, a good friend of mine, turned 100 not long ago, and I told him, I've been telling everybody it's just a number. Am I right? He said, yeah, it's just a number. But don't ask me, I'm only 100. Right? But it's just a number. I'm 100. Did I tell you I'm 100? Anyway, why did you want to honor Harlan Howard with an album of his songs? Answer, we spent a lot of time together in Nashville hanging out, writing together. He was a fantastic writer and a great friend. I went for the songs I really, really liked. Life Turned Her That Way is one of the best songs I've ever heard. Howard famously said, country music ain't nothing but 3 chords and the truth. Do you agree with that? Well, you might add another chord or two, but it's basically he's right. Question, country is your first love, but you've also shown an unappreciated for standard, gospel, and other genres. Is there a branch you don't care for? Answer, it's all good. I grew up listening to all kinds of music, from Hank Williams to
Okay,
Moonlight
when
in
did Willie
Vermont.
sing his hip hop album?
Well, he's good friends with Snoop Dogg. Maybe he already has one. You don't even know.
Yeah.
150 albums is entirely possible. He might have snuck one in there. I love every kind of music I've ever heard, he said. You're a nominee for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year. How do you feel about the award and rock in general? I love Willie Nelson, but he's not Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And neither is Dolly Parton. I'm sorry. They're just, I mean, come on.
It's
just
the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is now just people who did music, and we want to remember them, and that's it. That's what they should change it to.
It's pathetic.
The Music Hall of Fame is what it is.
Alice in Chains ain't in there, so it's legitimate. So.
No, I thought they were recently added.
Nope.
That old concert.
Nope. Nope. Not even close. They're not even nominated. Soundgarden might make it. Soundgarden's favored to make it this year, but Alice in Chains should be in before Soundgarden, and that's not anything against Soundgarden. They just weren't as good. Period. I appreciate it very much. I love rock music. I've been listening, and I love Chris Cornell. Anyway, back to Willie. So answer, I appreciate it very much. I love rock music. I've been listening to it ever since it came out. I guess Leon Russell was one of my favorite people and a great rock musician. You're also receiving the LBJ Liberty and Justice Award on May 12th. You've amassed a warehouse of honors over the years. Do some matter more than others? That's kind of a weird question. I appreciate them all, especially anything that has to do with music, the other things you do. We've been doing farm aid for a long time, and people realize now that it has helped a lot of farmers around the country. I worked farms in my early life, so I know how rough it is to make a living that way.
I think that was a leading question. Hey, do you think any of these awards suck? Like, what do you want me to do? Insult somebody? Cause drama?
Aren't you just getting tired of getting all these honors? You just got a warehouse full of, throw it on the pile. He's like, no, I'm honored. Like, people took the time to go to the trouble honoring me. I'm gracious. I'm a nice guy. Leave me alone. He's too nice. He's like, and I love Bob Dylan, but Willie's like way nicer than Bob Dylan, you know? Aging takes toll on vocal cords. How do you keep your voice in shape? I think singing is good for my voice. I don't do anything to harm it much anymore. If you don't use it, you lose it. Well, there. Question: you have a lot of self-defense training, including a 5th-degree black belt in Gong Kwan Yusul. What attracted you to martial arts? Answer: I grew up in Abbott, Texas, where we didn't have much except comic books. We had Charles Atlas and Bruce Lee, jiu-jitsu, judo, excuse my language, but in Abbott, we had a saying that all we do there is fight, blank, and throw rocks. I think the expletive that was bleeded started with an F. I grew up fighting one another. Well, that's the way sayings go. I grew up fighting with one another, and I go out on Saturday night and fight bumblebees and come home with my eyes swollen shut and tell everybody how much fun I had. Question: did you ever rely on martial arts skills to defend yourself? Answer: mainly it gives you enough confidence where you don't have to jump out there and get into trouble. If they bring it to you, you feel confident you can handle it. It's not anything I worry about because I'm not really afraid of it. I really don't think I'm afraid of anything.
Also, martial art is an art, so it's not really meant to be used in a combat zone so much. It's more like the art of understanding how to use a certain technique. That's kind of why it's called martial arts. Well,
this interview's doing a good job of bringing out Willie a little bit anyway. You're essentially the patriarch of potheads, and now you have 2 cannabis brands, Willie's Reserve and Willie's Remedy, which is hemp-based. Willie's Reserve is getting high-based. Are you happy with the pace of legalization? Answer: I think it's great. I believe there's a positive use for it. Physicians now tell you that pros and cons of smoking anything, any kind of smoke. I don't know if it's good for your lungs. You just have to be careful. Question: do you still smoke it? How has pot improved your life? Answer: I don't smoke as much as I used to. Every now and then I'll take it. I still do a couple edibles. It has a positive effect on me. I'm one of those redheaded kids with a high temper. I feel like it calms me down a little bit. Question: how is Trigger? Well, Trigger's his guitar, the battered Martin N20 acoustic guitar that he's played since 1969. It's one with a big hole in it. Well, it's a guitar he plays. He doesn't have the one guitar he plays, that's it. And have you thought about leaving it to a museum, or would you rather be buried with it? Don't bury it. Jeez. Answer, Trigger has a life and a personality all its own. Whenever I die, I'll let somebody else decide what Trigger does. He should be somewhere where he's appreciated. Question, you played more guitar than usual on your album. Yeah, I love to play. It's good for me, but I just did a bluegrass album with a lot of great bluegrass musicians, and I didn't play Trigger at all. It's the first album I didn't play Trigger since I've had him. You've written hundreds of songs. No, they're not. I saw a video of the guy tuning, like the guy who repairs it.
Yeah.
Never patches the hole, but he repairs, yeah. You've written hundreds of songs, including classes like Crazy, Nightlife, Hello Walls, On the Road Again. Is it getting hard to come up with ideas? Answer, now and then I'll come up with another song. When I've had enough, I'll put an album out. I don't try to push it. I think I'm kind of lucky through the years. I just wait and let it happen. I might go out a while without writing. I used to worry about it. Roger Miller told me, every now and then the well goes dry. You have to live a while to refill the well. Question, have you considered retiring from the road? Answer, jokingly I retire every tour. But I'm always ready to go back again. I like the bus. I have everything I need on the bus. I never have to go into a hotel room anywhere. It's not that bad. Question, after 3 divorces, you married a 4th time in 1991. How do you explain the success and longevity of your marriage, Annie D'Angelo? Answer, we agreed on a lot of things. She has been a great friend over the years. She's a great mother. She's just a very sharp individual. I just feel very lucky to have her. And last question. Describe a good day off. Answer, I'm right outside of Austin on top of a hill. I got a few horses, great scenery. I have an old truck I like to drive around. There are other great places in the world, but Texas is my place. Happy birthday, Willie Nelson!
Yay! Woo! Yay!
Well, I just say Willie is the man. I got one story. Years ago when I worked when we lived in El Paso. Actually, it might have just been traveling through El Paso. Anyway, they busted Willie's bus, his tour bus, at the Sierra Vista Border Patrol checkpoint. They busted Willie Nelson. So the next time I went through that checkpoint, I had to give him shit. I didn't know the guys personally, but I didn't care. I was like, which one of you guys busted Willie Nelson? Because they stop all the cars. You go there. Yeah, it's on the way. It's between El Paso and the rest of Texas, basically. It's where Sierra is. Yeah. Anyway, it's like, it was that guy. It was him. It was that. Whatever. You know Willie Nelson has weed. You knew when he stopped him. Why did you even bother? You know? We're going to get him in trouble. Idiots.
I will just pay a fine and be on his way.
Basically a Texas folk hero. All right, your turn. Your story.
In culture, we're going to talk about the New York Met, where they're getting all their Native American objects from. Only a small percentage of works donated by Charles and Valerie Diker have clear ownership histories. Experts say they could be stolen or fake. Stepping into the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Diane Beatty was eager to view the Native American works that the art collectors Charles and Valerie Diker had been accumulating for nearly half a century. As she entered the museum's American wing that day in 2018, her excitement turned into shock as 2 wooden masks came to view. Beatty, an Alaska native, had worked on a radio documentary about the 2 Alutiiq objects and how there were others like them that had been plundered from tribal land about 150 years ago. Now, the masks were on display in the biggest and most esteemed art museum in the Western Hemisphere. It was super shocking to me. A ProPublica review of records the museum had posted online found that only 15% of the 139 works donated or loaned by the Dikers over the years have a solid or complete ownership history, with others lacking any provenance at all. Most either have no histories listed, leave gaps in ownership ranging from 200 to 2,000 years, or identify previous owners in such a vague terms as an English gentleman and a family in Scotland. Experts say a lack of documented histories is a red flag that objects could have been stolen or may even be fake. Most of these items could have only been ended in private hands through trafficking and looting, says Shannon O'Laughlin, director of the Association of American Indian Affairs, which advocates for tribal sovereignty and protection of Native American culture. And if a museum can prove it has a legal title, meaning that the object's creator, their descendants, or tribal representatives willingly transferred the piece to the museum doesn't have to return an item. But if a tribal officer requests the return of an item, the museum must comply unless it can prove it's part of the chain of ownership. Ideally, going back to its origin, complicating matters, thousands of Native American pieces at the Met have been in its collections since 1889, an era where many museums didn't track the ownership histories of such works. In July, agencies 21 works valued at $11 million from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Over the course of several years, dozens of stolen artifacts have been provided as a gift or loans by the Met donors who later were flagged as inappropriate. Or impropriety, sorry, not inappropriate, but art impropriety. Improprieties. Midway through the Dykers exhibit and setup and development, the Met hired some advisors, but this group did not have time to contact the appropriate tribal officers. Said one of the advisors, Brian Vallo, the then director of the Indian Arts Research Center at the School for Advanced Research in Santa Fe and former governor of Acoma Pueblo in New Mexico. Vallo stressed that he was not a tribal leader at the time and said it was important to educate the Met on issues of cultural sensitivities and representation. This advisory group learned the Met didn't have procedures for properly curating, consulting, and documenting and displaying Native American objects, and they insisted that the museum hire an indigenous curator. I very heavily cut that story up while you were reading it. There's at least 50 other pages about this. Wow. But the point is that they really went in ProPublica, which is helped write this piece, went very deep into every single piece that was in this exhibit and said, this one doesn't belong to anybody. This one may have been stolen by a buffalo farmer in 1816 during, the height of the Union versus American, or, like all that kind of stuff, right?
Wow,
There's
like
a lot of
stuff
in
book.
Here. They were like, this is probably from the time when people just massacred Native Americans and said, hey, wow, somebody left their axe on the ground. I'm going to sell it for $1 billion. Yeah. Literally stuff like that, right? This was probably found on a battlefield.
Yeah. Well, they list everything individually. Maybe they should make a coffee table book out of it, right? Stolen artifacts.
Stolen artifacts from the Met. Anyways, on to In This Day in History.
Okay, this day in history, 1781. We had Petersburg, Virginia, was captured by British troops under William Phillips and Benedict Arnold during the American Revolution. So Benedict Arnold had switched sides by then. The first guillotine was erected in 1792 in Place de Grève in Paris. I'm sure that's not pronounced place. To execute a highwayman. I guess that's a thief who steals things on the highway. In 1809, the Treaty of Amistad was settled in Indo-Sikh relations. Indo-Sikh relations by the British India Company and Ranjit Singh, head of the Sikh Kingdom of Punjab. In 1859, construction of the Suez Canal officially began. In 1874, Guillermo Marconi, Italian physicist who invented a radio, but not the radio, and received the Nobel Prize for Physics, was born in 1874. In 1901, New York became the first U.S. state to mandate license plates when Governor Benjamin Odell Jr. signed a law ordering automobiles and all motorcycles displayed as separate initials of the owner's name placed on the back thereof in a conspicuous place. His initials? 1908, Edgar Murrow, noted journalist, radio television journalist, was born this day in 1908 in North Carolina. In 1915, the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps landed in Gallipoli in western Turkey during the Daedalus campaign of World War I. In 1926, Giacomo's Puccini's uncompleted opera Turandot was performed posthumously at La Scala under direction of Arturo Toscanini. Alrighty, that was hard to say. 1959. One of the largest civil engineering feats ever taken, the St. Lawrence Seaway officially opened, linking the Atlantic Ocean with the Great Lakes. So that's been officially open since 1959. 1990, Violeta Barrios de Chamorro became the Central America's first female president, and she was sworn in office in Nicaragua. 1995, American dancer and actress Ginger Rodgers, who starred with Fred Astaire in 10 popular Hollywood movies, died at the age of 83. In 2014, on a cost-saving measure, the water supply of Flint, Michigan was switched from the Detroit Water and Sewage Department to the Flint River, causing a public health crisis as residents were exposed to dangerously high levels of lead. 2015, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck near Kathmandu, Nepal, causing widespread damage and killing several thousand. Not going to Kathmandu on 2015, April 25th. 2021, Chinese filmmaker Chloe Zhao became the first person of color to win the Academy Award for Best Director. She was recognized for Nomadland, which was also named Best Picture. Nomadland, which is named for Best Picture 21 Oscars. 2 whole years ago. In an effort to birthdays today. Also, the Hubble Space Telescope was sent in orbit this day in 1990. And birthdays today, Tim Duncan, American basketball player. 1940. Well, Tim Duncan is from, he's from LaCroix. Not LaCroix, St. Croix. He's from St. Croix, the island, St. Croix, the Virgin Islands. Al Pacino was born this day in 1940. He looks a lot older, I gotta say. Lark Lemon, American basketball player, the Harlem Globetrotters, born this day in 1932. Ella Fitzgerald's birthday, she was born in 1917. And Oliver Cromwell was born on this day in 1599. Happy birthday, Ollie. They called him Ollie, only his good friends. And today is National Eats Meets Eats. National East means meets West Day. Harder to say. Well, that's what it is today. Today's National Telephone Day. Everybody has a phone, but not a telephone. Almost nobody has a telephone anymore. National DNA Day, April 25th. Everybody has DNA, I know that. It's National Libraries Worker Day, so hug a librarian. They'd probably be confused by that. National Zucchini Bread Day. Yeah, give your librarian some zucchini bread, even better. Oh, and it's National Hug a Plumber Day. So while you're hugging a librarian, also go find a plumber to hug. I don't know how you do that, but go find one. That's all. That's all the news that's fit to print today. The comprehensive news of the world, of planet Earth.
All right, well, this has been Allison from Europe talking about cops and pesticides and stolen Native American artifacts. Hope to see you tomorrow for some more exciting journalism.
And here is Roger, been talking to you about mostly trivial stuff that has nothing to do with your everyday life, involving sports, TV personalities, singers, and random facts. But hey, they're there for the reading. But today, and so have a good day, and again, stop shooting each other. It's not really that serious. Nothing's that serious. Stop shooting each other. April 25th edition, 2023 of Before Coffee. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.